After years of hoping and begging, McFarlane Toys has finally given us a DC Multiverse Wonder Woman in her current standard Rebirth costume. The catch? The only way to get her is in an $80 2-pack with Godzilla. 5 years in, is this Wonder Woman worth the wait? More importantly, is she worth the price tag? Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation. Starting with the packaging, and there's actually a bunch of small little differences from the Superman one. For example, the new DC logo. That said, even the Monsterverse logo is different. Just for a quick refresher, here's what that looked like. The top also now has DC and Monsterverse logos, plus Toho, who's the owner of Godzilla. The side has also been updated a bit. It now specifies that this is Legendary's Monsterverse, and includes both logos. And once again, we have artwork ever so subtly peeking out of the background. The other side has all the necessary titles and logos, with the full color artwork of both characters on the back. I like the contrast between the clear blue sky and the fire. Wonderful Wonder Woman artwork, but one small issue. This is her classic design, but the whole point of the figure is finally giving us a Rebirth one. I'm sure most of us don't care, but I do find it at least a little bit funny. That minor faux pas aside, it's clear a lot of thought went into this. Still, I've got to do my due diligence and dock it ever so slightly for being the wrong version of the character, so for packaging, Wonder Woman versus Godzilla gets 4 points. It is really good art though. Moving on to presentation, and of course most of you are just here for one thing and one thing only, this little 3-inch scale Page Puncher's Wonder Woman. I'm just joshing you. Let's bust this box open. Godzilla just being a repaint of the Superman version, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here. The only difference this time is some blue detail. That's to help give the impression that he's charging up for an atomic breath blast. They also use that brighter blue to do some dry brushing on the rest of the body, and to be honest, I think this looks really good. Overall, it's a solid sculpt of one of my favorite Godzilla looks. I'm particularly impressed with the detail on the face. That airbrushed look for the eyes really does make it look like it's glowing, and the mouth makes him look just like Megan Fox in Subservience. But of course, the main topic of discussion is Wonder Woman. To the top of her voluminous hair, Diana stands at 7.5 inches, or about 18.5 centimeters, and is mostly just the Batman v Superman version, which itself is just Fury of the Gods with a better head, which itself is just 1984 with a better head and better legs. The new parts for the Godzilla version are these hands. The previous one had wraps. The battle skirt is also brand new. Bringing back the previous versions, you can see it's a lot more detailed and more textured. This one's a bit longer and more streamlined. There is still texture there, but it's much more subtle. The comic version also has stars on the sides. If anything, it's a real testament to the costume designers that they did such a good job of translating the comic design onto the screen. Of course, what makes this a comic book Wonder Woman is the new comic book style head. In a lot of ways, it does resemble the collector edition, mainly the basic shape of the lips, chin, and eyebrows. The noses are also pretty much identical. Otherwise though, and I really prefer the eyes on the new one. Not that these are bad or anything, but the smokiness kind of underplays them, whereas here they're just much more vivid. I also think the red lips really help to pop, and tie it nicely together with the armor, which I'm very happy to see as metallic. Those things go a long way to create a nice sense of continuity between the classic and Rebirth figures. If I did have one consistent frustration with this body, it would be the legs. Now, just to be clear, the knee pads and boots have been sculpted fantastically. I love all the straps and details, and the fact that it's metallic also. Though, admittedly, McFarlane has never painted it as nicely as they did for the original 1984 version. That one infamously had legs like hot dogs, pretty much just flat, shapeless tubes. For the Shazam version, they resculpted the thighs, but kept the same calves and feet. So even on the new one, the calves kind of jut out at an angle. As someone who's been waiting for a Rebirth Wonder Woman for a long time, though, my frustration is that they could have done this years ago. It's literally just a new head and a new skirt on a body we've gotten a bunch of times. Well, better late than never, I guess. Either way, and Godzilla looks good, and despite my gripes, Diana most definitely looks good too. For presentation, I'm giving Wonder Woman vs. Godzilla 4 points. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this video so far, do me a favor and give it a kaiju-sized like. Moving on to Poseability, and Godzilla has a dumbbell joint in the neck. He's also got a hinge in the jaw, swivel shoulders, swivel hips, and a dumbbell in the tail that allows for side to side, little bit of up and down, and twist, and the tail has a bit of bend. As for Diana, and this body is pretty familiar, but there are some new pieces. That head is all new, but of course those long luscious locks are going to get in the way a bit, by which I mean she can't look up whatsoever. She can look down a pretty fair amount though, little bit of tilt, and of course side to side. Moving on down, and Diana can raise her arms 90 degrees, and gets complete rotation at the shoulder. She also benefits from a multi-directional rotator cuff, as well as bicep swivel, double jointed elbow with a perfect DC Multiverse bend, and brand new hands on wrist balls that can swivel and hinge either up and down or side to side. Move into the middle, and Diana has a diaphragm joint that looks like she was sawed in half, as well as a ball jointed waist. She can arch back this far, however, which I'd say is wonderful. Here's standing straight for context. And you know what? Say what you will about that diaphragm joint and what it looks like, but hunching forward, it does work really well. She also gets a very impressive amount of side to side, as well as twist at the top of the diaphragm and also the waist. Below that bright shiny new battle skirt, and Wonder Woman has the standard McFarlane hips. You'll notice this nice section cut out here. That does a great job of staying out of the way of her kick. She can also kick this far backwards, which is just wild, and she can split this wide. Again, the nice flexible battle skirt is our friend. Wonder Woman also has an excellent amount of twist in the hip. In fact, she can practically sit crisscross applesauce, and then here's how far outward she can go. Now there is some chunkiness to the armor around her knees. As such, she doesn't have the deepest bend in the world, but this is more than enough for me. And then all the way down, and Diana has toe articulation and ankle balls that can swivel, hinge, but admittedly not that much, and like McFarlane Toys, finally giving us the figures we want now that the contract is running out. Pivot. Naturally, I would have loved more articulation in Godzilla, but I get why they did it this way. For me, it's really just all about Wonder Woman, and grading on a curve for the long hair, and thanks to the better than usual hunch forward. For Poseability, I'm giving Rebirth Wonder Woman 5 points. Moving on to Playability, and we've got a trading card and a figure stand. Once again, that's just a synopsis of the crossover, which you can read here. The artwork is just a cross-section of the pictures from the box. It's fine and gets the job done. At the same time though, I really like how they use this alternate cover for the last one, and I feel like this cover by David Nakayama would have been perfect. Godzilla's even doing the atomic breath thing. Again, it's just a trading card, but at least with this cover she's in the right costume. Once again, Godzilla comes with a little miniature Wonder Woman. You can put her in the G-Man's clutches like so. If you recall last time, that Superman was just Page Puncher's Rebirth, but with new trunks. But since they never made a Wonder Woman at this scale before, this one is all new. It's actually a pretty good approximation of the larger figure, complete with metallic paint. The arms pop off very easily, but they also pop back on just as easily. Real quick though, just look at how nicely the eyes are painted. Again, this is only a 3-inch figure. The entire face is only half a centimeter. The fact that they were able to get that level of detail that small just really impresses me. I know it's silly, but there's just something about these little pocket hero type figures I like. So much so that I actually tracked down the Hush Batman. That way, and at least I've got the whole trinity. What would have really sold it would have been an atomic blast breath effect, but that probably would have raised the price another $10. As for the full-size Wonder Woman, she only comes with one accessory. You see this hook? That's for this. The golden embroidery thread of truth. There's a part of me that really does not want to untie this, mainly because I just know I'm never going to be able to get it put back together this nicely again. Of course, the show must go on. In total, we get just under a foot. The only downside is that Diana has a left-handed fist, so you can only really put it in her right hand. Obviously, things like extra hands or weapons would have been nice, but I have a prediction. If I were a gambling man, I would bet that Wonder Woman is going to be an Anne Hathaway Catwoman situation. Remember how at first the only way to get Catwoman was by also spending extra money on the Batpod, but then they released a platinum version with a bunch of extra accessories? I have a terrible feeling that that's where this is heading. First you get people to drop $80 on this, then they'll put her out again as a red platinum with hands, a sword, and a shield. It won't matter, of course, because you'll never find her in store and have to pay extra on eBay anyway. Well, that took a turn. I'm sorry, I guess I'm just feeling kinda cynical lately. Let's lighten the mood with some side-by-side comparisons. With your blessing, I'm gonna skip Godzilla this time and just focus on Diana. Starting with a Wonder Woman supporting character, and here we have Stev Trevor. But rounding out the DC Trinity is Atomic Skull 2-pack and Walmart versions of Action Comics 1000 Superman, Hush, who's a little bit too short, but for a perfect match, and here's Silver Age and the Godzilla 2-pack Superman, which I spruced up with the Action Comics 1000 head and some painted belt loops. That said, and since there is a bit of spillover in the comics, here we have New 52, along with the official Rebirth versions of Superman and Batman. This is the one that comes from the Clayface 3-pack. For some reason I can't find the regular one. Shifting squarely from Man of Tomorrow to Dark Knight, and here we have New 52 and Year 1 Batman, along with Hush and Cowardly Lot. Next up is Flashpoint and Rebirth versions of Barry Allen, Silver Age and Walmart versions of Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern, Endless Winter Aquaman with his actual Rebirth style head for a change, and Rebirth Cyborg, who I'm just now noticing is missing his left toe. I guess his toes do hurt.
I don't even understand the physics of how my toes hurt.
For a similarly star-spangled 7-inch scale hero from the House of Ideas, and here's Marvel Select Captain America, which is a perfect segue to a relative scale comparison with Pizza Spidey and the Marvel Select Spectacular Spider-Man. And lastly, the words I've been waiting to say for years, here's Rebirth Wonder Woman with Stealth Iron Man. Oh hey, I found him. Now I know you well enough to know that some of you want to see some head swaps, but I'm only going to be doing a few. And since the live action ones are pretty much on the same body, I'm not going to be including those. Going in order of release, however, and here's Last Night on Earth. A lot of customizers have used this body over the years to workshop a regular Wonder Woman. Unfortunately, the hair makes it impossible to get this head onto this body, so no dice there. Next up, and here's Endless Winter. Just like with Last Night on Earth, the hair does get a little bit in the way, but you can pull this one off. You'd need to do some repainting, but it looks pretty cool, and in general, to me, just feels more Wonder Woman-y. Other way around, and I have shown you this head on this body before, and as always, you'd have to repaint it, but I wanted to look at it again with fresh eyes. That's because she's currently rocking a braid in the comic, which I actually picked up the same day I found the box set. For the other most important Wonder Woman, and once again, here's the collector edition. Out of all of them, this is the combination I have been the most excited to see. It goes without saying you'd have to do a little bit of repainting, but in general this head scales really well with this body. Lastly, and here we have the Golden Age Page Punchers. Pretty much everything I said about the collector edition applies here. I have seen online where customizers have used this body to make a more classic Diana, and once again this head is just really great for that. All around, and I think that this is the best McFarlane Wonder Woman head we've gotten so far. It should never have taken 5 years to complete a contemporary comic-style Justice League lineup, but here we are. I still think giving Godzilla an atomic breath effect would have really put the set over the top and made it a must-have, but I also get why that probably would have been cost prohibitive, and even if it's not in scale, the mini Wonder Woman is still a lot of fun. For playability, I'm giving Wonder Woman vs. Godzilla an okay 3 points. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price and the atomic elephant in the room. I love Godzilla, and a powering up repaint of him just makes sense. That said, as a collector, I feel like I've been taken advantage of. McFarlane Toys knows we've wanted this figure for years, and they've really dragged their heels. And after releasing Superman with regular Godzilla, I feel like they knew Diana was the only bait that was gonna get us to buy him again. Had they switched it up and put Wonder Woman with regular Godzilla, ain't nobody would have bought another Superman just to get the atomic version. Especially not with that face. From a business standpoint, I get it. From a customer appreciation standpoint, though, and well, that's a different story. Obviously, only you can make your own collecting choices, and if it's too much, then there's no harm in passing it by. In fact, for those skipping out on this figure, I'm working on a DIY video to show you some alternate options. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. Even with All that said, though, I still want to be objective. Regardless of how I personally feel, the value is the same as the last one. Maybe even more so when you factor in that the mini Wonder Woman is brand new. I do still feel it's a bit much, especially since Godzilla's a repaint this time. Other sets in this series have had pretty big discounts, so if you're patient, you might be lucky. As in demand as this version of Wonder Woman has been, though, that might not be the case this time. Regardless, and I hope you can forgive me if this whole thing has left a bad taste in my mouth. For price, I'm giving Wonder Woman vs. Godzilla 3 points, averaging out to a grand total of 3.8 out of 5. Agree? Disagree? Sound off in the comments, because I really want to hear your opinion on this one, especially if you thought I was too harsh, not harsh enough, or right on the money. For more videos, check out one of these, and until next time, play nice and have fun. And ankle balls that can McFarlane Toys knows we want. For price, I'm giving Wonder Woman vs. Godzilla 5